The last form I'm going to go over in this video is the owner rental criteria. And this form is going to lay out what the ideal situation for the landlord is going to be. So you're going to have to sit there with the landlord or talk to them over the phone or through Zoom or whatever and get all this information. So you're going to put the address, the authorization to lease date, and you're going to fill out the blanks with whatever it is that they are looking for, which is total monthly rent for the subject property. So let's say they want, $5,000 for their rent. They want it paid on the first of the month. They want it paid. Some people will do a discount, so they'll say, it's $5,000 due on the first. If it's paid by the first, then you'll get a reduction. They'll receive a $500 deduction for a net rent of $4,500. So sometimes people do that to encourage tenants to pay on time. So let's say he wants $5,000, or he or she wants $5,000. So what you might put here is they want $5,500. But if you pay by the first, they will get a $500 deduction, and their net rent will be $5,000 a month. So that's one way to encourage people to pay by the first. Studies have found that is more effective than trying to charge an overage fee. So that's something to keep in mind. Rent checks will be made payable too. So this is going to be the property owner's name. This is their address where they're going to want their check mailed to or hand delivered. NSF charge. Some people charge a $35 fee because if they get sent an NSF check, they will be charged a $35 fee. So they'll pass that on to the tenant. Security deposit is equal to 1 or 2 full months rent. And then the termination, you need to give them a certain amount of days. Occupants, this is going to basically allow you to start kind of honing in on what they're looking for in a tenant. So subject property is considered to contain however many bedrooms. Consequently, there will be a maximum number of however many occupants allowed to reside in the subject property. This is something you should definitely read. Income qualifications. This is kind of how some tenants like to determine if it's a good tenant or not. They need to make a certain amount beyond what the actual rent is. So if the rent, let's say you have 25%, so if the rent is $5,000 a month, then that needs to be, the rent can't exceed more than 25% of what their total monthly income is. People don't, you don't see that a lot in a residential lease with a landlord. You see that sometimes like First Lake or something like that. But that's something that you'll see every now and then. That means they would need to make $20,000 a month to qualify for a $5,000 a month note, basically, because they need to make more than that. It can't be more than 25% of what they bring in. If there's more than one leasee who will be signing the lease, this is if you have more than one person entering the lease. Sometimes people won't allow that. Owner does or does not require that the income used to qualify for a lease be earned income. This explains that here. You can put, the leasing must be required to live there. Some people, are not going to require people to live there. Maybe somebody's taking a lease on for another person. A lot of people don't like that. Guarantors, we can go into that in another video if we need to. But again, subleasing, not everybody likes for people to sublease. So what you see subleases in commercial more often. And then you have utilities just to lay out. If a property owner has only one, let's say they own a 3-plex and there's only one electric meter, only one water account, then the property owner is going to have to pay the electric and pay the water. So there'll be, that will be considered part of the rent, pretty much, right? So they may have separate meters and have the tenant actually pay for their own water and their own electricity. You'll put that there. Same thing for lawn maintenance. Who's going to be responsible for that? Who's responsible to maintain the pool? How many automobiles are they going to allow on the property or allow in the parking? Here's where they can tell you the parking situation, boats and trailers, rekeying of locks. Pets, do they allow pets? If so, what's the breakdown of that? Who's going to pay for improvements or repairs? What appliances are they going to provide? and that is that's it. It gives a place for them to sign. So if you go through it, it's really just it's basically just a way for you to get all the information on what the property owner is looking for in a tenant and how the lease will need to be written up. Because when you actually go to write the lease, or well, I guess the other agent will really write the lease, but when you go to deal with the negotiation of the lease, you won't have to keep going back and forth with the property owner on what they're looking for. This lays it all out. By having this form filled out, you should know how utilities are handled, what kind of pets they might approve, what kind of parking situation they have, who's going to be responsible for maintenance, all that stuff. So